Previously on agentpalmer.com, the Thurber Carnival is short and sweet. It's not Murphy's Law. Richard Robinson proves you're just toast. And remember, my guest episode on That Nerd Thing podcast has dropped since last episode. This is the Palmer Files, episode 139, featuring the continuation of the conversation my wife Stefanie and I had, starting from her cross-country journey to move in with me, continuing with our years living together, and culminating in our nuptials. Are you ready? Let's get to the I-do's. Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershic, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 139th episode is my wife, Stefanie Stershic, who's back to continue the conversation of our story from digital dating to white wedding. If you missed the last episode or just need a refresher, the story started with us meeting on Twitter through a podcast, led to late night phone calls, and eventually a first date. And then she decided to move in. That's where this episode takes off. During this episode, we'll also cover how I unintentionally turned Steph into a sports person after she moved in, adding another person to the house and a cat, one of us losing a job, a global pandemic, Pathfinder, podcasting, sharing shows and movies, Magic the Gathering, Minecraft, traveling, Twitch streaming, and the buildup of when are you going to get married questions. Also, wedding decisions and planning, the wedding itself, and well, as always, all of that and more is coming your way shortly. But first, remember that if you want to discuss the episode as you listen or afterwards, you can find all related ways to contact my lovely wife, Stefanie, and myself in the show notes. Don't forget, you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com. And of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's figure out how all this happened. So, you drive across the country.
Takes me 3 days.
And I'm keeping track of your journey. And you met a few people on the way.
Yep.
It wasn't, you met some friends.
Yeah, I basically arranged it so that I could stop at least a day or so in Illinois, because not only was and she's still my best friend to this day, Con was still living in Illinois at the time. She was originally from Chicago. That's where I'd gone to visit her. That's where I knew she lived. But at the time, she was living in Champaign with her, I think they were already married by then, with her husband, Kavinder. And I was like, okay, I can save myself a hotel if I plan my trip and go up into Illinois that way, because it was going to kind of be along the way anyway. Stay with them a night, hang out, say hello, and then drive on the next day.
And you got to see our mutual friend, Sarah.
Well, and that was the other thing, was I could, because she wasn't that close to Champaign, but she was close enough that it was going to be on my way. Yeah. I could kind of go that way and then stop in Champaign for the final stop, and then kind of deal with that. So I had stopped, I think, in New Mexico was my first stop, got a hotel, and then basically the next day drove from New Mexico all the way to Sarah, had dinner with Sarah, hung out for a bit, chatted, had a lovely time, left Sarah, went to Champaign, got there about probably 10, 11 o'clock at night, and stayed the night. So this had been planned. I was going to stay at Con's house shortly before my trip. She forgot that she was going to be away right at that time. But luckily, they still had a roommate living with them at the time, who was another of Con's friends, Van. And she's like, don't worry, you can still stop. You can stay with Van.
Yep.
and you guys can hang out because I knew her as well. I had hung out with her and Con before. They had both come and visited me in Arizona. And so I was like, yeah, that's fine. I can hang out with Van. It's not a big deal. Thank you, because it would save me not having to pay for another hotel.
And then you got up and
yeah.
basically...
Or actually, you know what? No, it wasn't New Mexico where I stopped. I lied. That was when I drove with my mom. That was a completely different thing. No, I had driven from Arizona all the way to, I think, Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Because, yeah, that wouldn't have made sense. Because I drove
that would
about...
have been 4 hours or something like that.
No, I drove at least like 11 hours that first day because I had timed it to basically be like 11 to 12 hours a day in the car. So yeah, no. I was wrong. I was confusing trips because
We'll get to that.
I did this a couple of times. I traveled across the country a couple times. But no, so Oklahoma City to Illinois.
Yep.
And then the next day, woke up, hopped in the car, drove all the way from Illinois. Another 12 hours straight to Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Arrived here, again, kind of late at night. Got some of the stuff out of the car, but then just kind of crashed. I'd had, I think, food along the way, got here, and was like, I need to go to sleep. I was done.
I genuinely, other than being excited, do not remember anything about, like, you finally being here. I mean that. Like, I wish I could remember more. All I know is that you arrived on like a Saturday night or a Friday night. You arrived at a certain point because I remember you didn't take off nearly as much time as I wanted you to because you basically Monday.
I think I arrived on Friday and was back to work on a Monday, maybe Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Monday, it was Tuesday.
But Tuesday you were like, "Yep, I'm back to work," and it was like, "Oh, I gotta set you up." And I think during the weekend, or maybe Monday or Tuesday, during that next week is when your stuff arrived.
Yeah.
And so unpacking was fine. I have a basement. Like we just shoved everything in the basement and unpacked it over the course of time. And so that is October, and it's only important because in order to look when we go anywhere, I drive. That's part of that's anxiety. Part of it's just you
like driving.
I like driving.
Yeah.
And I only bring that up because I was like, you're gonna have to drive around here on your own. But for the first little bit, like I'll take you grocery shopping so you can see like where we.
Yeah, so I can start getting my bearings. Yeah.
In October, the leaves are changing.
Yeah.
And the first time. Look, my car and your car, both of our cars at the time have sunroofs, moonroofs, whatever.
Yeah.
And you are taking you're like, slow down. I want to take a picture of this tree.
Yeah, we're driving down the street and the leaves are changing and I've got my phone out and I'm just snapping pictures left and right as we're driving down the road.
I've never seen fall.
It had been a long time. The leaves were turning such pretty colors. Like it was the brightest yellows, the brightest oranges, the brightest reds I had ever seen. And it was just, it was a little overwhelming at first. I was like, this is so pretty. Oh my God, this is my life now.
Now, there's something else that happens in fall.
Yeah.
Especially in October. Mm-hmm. We're married now, so you can't go anywhere. But had I explained like just how much of a sports person I was? Did I cover? I know we talked about it a little bit.
We talked about it. I knew you liked sports.
And a World Cup had happened during that we had talked through because you were into soccer. But
I don't think I knew exactly to the extent.
Yeah, because I think it was
that you were into like college football and college basketball and those types of things. I knew you weren't that into NFL. I knew you were a baseball guy because I had already kind of sent you gifts that were Orioles related. Yeah, so I knew you were a baseball fan.
Because it's the next weekend after you move in, and we were talking about this recently, or 2 weekends, or maybe it's the next year. But at some point, I go to a game with my father, and you go off with my mother shopping.
Yeah.
But that first one is very much like I get up on Saturday morning, And I watched game day, and then I watched college football all day.
All day. Yeah.
And I don't know that I had prepared you for that. At the NFL, I could take or leave on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens in the fall.
Yeah.
By the way, through what can only be described as your most awkward holiday season, your first one with me, where I'm a Jew who doesn't really care that much about Hanukkah. You thought it was a bigger deal than it was.
I was lied to by media and television and movies.
Not only did we compromise on decorations, because it's not something I do just in general, but also because of the college football thing, you got your first taste of bowl season, which starts in mid-December and goes through the beginning of January. It was like, hey, can we watch like a holiday movies? I'd love to, but there's this bowl game on I want to watch.
There's this thing.
There's this college football game on. And so
can you watch it on a different device?
I don't know that I had prepared you well enough for the college football.
Or how much you would basically be watching it like on the TV. The TV would be devoted to that.
Well, yeah, because I don't have I think the difference is like if I had a team, that's 2 games. Like if I had a pro team in college, that's 2 games.
Yeah.
But I like college football.
Yeah,
so I will
watch all
watch
the
it from noon till midnight.
Yeah.
And so that's, you get a taste of that, and then college football season ends. You got your first taste of March Madness the following March.
Yep.
As we're talking about like, okay, I watched a lot of college basketball for 4 straight days.
Yeah.
And then baseball season starts. Now, I'm watching the games. They're just in passing.
I'm kind of in and out. I'm not heavily watching anything. Like I'm there, like I want to spend time with you, so I'll be sitting on the couch, but I'll usually be doing something else. Like I'm not super paying attention to any of the game, regardless of what sport it is. Just kind of.
And this is 2019, right?
Yeah.
So, but I bring it up because if we want to fast forward for a moment, you'll watch college football with me.
Yeah.
You watch pro football with me. You watch baseball with me.
Every single Orioles game that I can watch.
So none of that stuff. I feel like I
came into this house disliking baseball. I thought it was boring. I didn't get it. I had never seen a game. I'd never been to a game. You take me to my first baseball game. The local Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Yep.
And I had a blast thinking, is this what baseball is?
Not quite. I mean, not quite. And the Iron Pigs, AAA baseball is slightly different.
Yeah. It's not major league, but
we did. I did kind of. I didn't do it on purpose, by the way. Like
that was after March Madness. It was like April, May.
No, it would have been June. No,
it was earlier.
It was April because I took you to a cold game.
Yeah, we bundled up. I remember there was several layers underneath the jersey that I was wearing.
So we didn't go into like we talked about the things we had in common. We didn't really talk about the things we didn't have in common, which is not look.
That's not uncommon.
First of all, it's not uncommon to do that, and second of all, in a long distance relationship, you're gonna double down on the things you have in common that you can talk about.
Yeah. And the rest you learn once you move in together. Like that's the things that you pick up.
Comes up.
Yeah.
And then I did take you to during that year when we fast forward to the fall. I did take you to a basketball game.
Yeah.
A college basketball game. Obviously, everybody knows what's coming that's following along with 2019.
Yeah.
But what they don't know is that we're not going to get into specifics, but your mother has to move in with us.
Yeah.
For a fairly long time.
Yeah.
And it's not just that your mother is moving in with us.
Our family cat Max is also moving in. Because in December of 2019, I fly to Phoenix and help my mom finish up things. We basically, we both owned the house together, so we were there to sell the house. We sold the house. Everything got packed up, and then I was going to drive with my mom and the cat in her car across the country.
Temporarily. To temporarily live with us.
To temporarily live with us until she could move on to, she was going to move to Virginia. She was going to find a place. She was going to do everything. That was the plan. So
that was the plan.
So that was the time that we stopped in New Mexico first because we had the cat with us. So we knew we couldn't go like 11 hours straight because it just wasn't going to work. Plus, my mom didn't want to. So it was going to be a slightly longer drive than what I had done the year before.
But I had already met. First of all, I'd already met your mother.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Look, I would be a cat person over a dog person.
Mm-hmm. But you had not had a pet.
I hadn't had a pet in like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had no pets in the house. And so all of a sudden I'm a cat owner, basically. Because even if we fast forward to your mother being here for like 6 months because of the pandemic, she was gone for a little bit of it.
Yeah,
because she went on a trip to
basically,
Germany.
we arrive in December. The plan is for her to kind of go and manage things in Virginia, but come January, she went to Virginia. She went out there a few weekends, started looking around, had a realtor, was trying to find places and things like that. Basically, I think at the same time, because
she was just getting frustrated. She wanted to get out, so she went to Germany.
Well, yeah. So basically, in February, she went to Germany,
and then 2 weeks. Then the pandemic
shortly
happens.
Thereafter, the pandemic happens.
I succinctly remember. Now, look, I've called your mother Mom since the first time I met her.
Yeah.
When she came out with you in the summer and I almost killed her with humidity.
The humidity killed her.
I remember you being on the call with your mother and your mother saying she wanted to come back. And I said, no.
No, it's not. That's not going to happen.
It wasn't like, don't come back. Oh, like future mother-in-law. Like, no. It was just basically.
No, it was just, it wasn't possible. Like,
I don't know if it was like, Europe handled it very differently, and it was still very much early days here, but it was you could tell it was getting worse. And I think your mother was unaware. The true
shutdown was happening.
And I was very much like, you don't want to come back here.
No.
Not now.
Don't risk it. Why bother? Like, don't travel, like anything like that. And that's how my mom wound up trapped in Germany until June.
Yeah. And then your mother came back, and then eventually she finds
left again. And yeah.
And so, also at this time, Zapata moves
from Scranton
down to here.
Mm-hmm.
And during the pandemic, we basically adopted him.
Yeah.
Because he was working remotely like everybody else, but he was working remotely in an apartment by himself. And it's like, dude, just come over once a week. So when we started Pathfinder, we started gaming.
He was part of our circle.
Yep.
Because you can hang out with people in your circle. So he definitely became our circle.
And so it's at this time that we kind of got to do a lot of, and I got fired.
You did. You lost your job
in that. But at this point, because of all the time, I'm on unemployment. You're on 60% workload.
It was something to that. Yeah, they cut our hours during the pandemic.
But you
and
I got to do
days.
That kind of what we should have done, what we would have done had we been early dating, right? Like we didn't really get to go anywhere. There wasn't as much open, but like we were watching things together. I introduced you to some shows. So we did some watches, rewatches for me, but watches for you. Mm-hmm. I introduced you to a bunch of movies.
Yep.
We went back and forth on movies.
Yeah.
Not so much on TV shows. And so that happens. We discover Minecraft together at this point.
Yeah.
We discovered, I got you into Magic around the...
That was already...
That was
already in 2019 because I moved in, and in January...
Is that what I got you for your birthday?
That's what you got me for my birthday. It was like a Magic the Gathering like party set where it came with several...
it was a starter set.
Or it was some kind of starter set, but it was like several different decks.
We also got into some other like online communities, but not nearly like we talked about last episode with the 7 Days League. Like this is just consuming and entertainment, and we're not. And then at some point, I started this podcast, which comes after your podcast with Henno ends.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get you guys
to start another one
ever since, and it's just not working.
It's like we need something to talk about. Like we can't. The two of us just can't. Like we had Gotham, and then
you did the Orville.
Gotham's was ending, so we continued on a little bit longer because then we both fell in love with the Orville, and then that also ended. So both the shows we were talking about and loved. And were the basis for our podcast had ended. So yeah, and we both moved on to what at the time was
Geek Up and Go.
Well, Geek Up and Go came first, but that was mostly me. That wasn't Henno.
Okay.
Geek Up and Go happened. That was with Roy.
Yep.
But then later, what happened with me, Henno, Roy, and Sean was Moving the Needle.
No, Moving the Needle was first. You got it wrong. Moving the Needle was first, then it kind of dialed back. Geek Up and Go started, and then they went back to Moving the Needle because I was on Moving the Needle at that point a couple times as a guest, and I was
yo-yoed back and forth. But
so all of this to say that.
But before I was on Moving the Needle, I was on Geek Up and Go. So Geek Up and Go happened for me first.
Did it?
Mm-hmm. It did.
Okay.
Because I did that with Roy, and then later on, because I had done that with Roy, that's why I was considered for Moving the Needle.
When this happens, you start fading out of podcasting.
I do, yeah.
And I had started my show at that point.
Mm-hmm. Only room for one podcaster in this house.
That's not true. Anyone listening to this right now, just know that I have encouraged her to get back on the mic. And you do eventually start your own stream, but we're not there yet.
No, that's in 2021.
So at this point, as the world's returning back to normal, I take you to your first Orioles game.
Yeah.
We go to Baltimore for a 3-game set. We only catch 2 games because there's a rain out.
Yep.
But you're there. We kind of do the Baltimore thing a bit.
Wander around the harbor. Yep. Go to the Science Museum because we have a thing with science museums.
And we went to the art museum. There was an art museum
and we went to the art
too.
Museum, yeah. But we did the Science Museum because we're like, hey, we did it before
and
our
it's
first
the
date.
Second year. Then we went back the next year and we found an amazing Mediterranean place.
Yeah.
But
and a really good coffee place.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so now you're into baseball.
Yes.
And I remember the first spring training the first opening day you were excited for. And you were living and dying with every game. And I was like, wait until October for this. It's too early to care about.
I dove in with both feet, and I was like, I am in. I am invested. I am living and dying by this.
You were very much a soccer / football fan come to baseball, where it's like when football's 16, 17 games in a season.
Yeah.
Soccer, they play a lot more than that, but it's not 162.
No.
Like, you can't live and die with every game. There's a lot of games.
I was very upset when they would lose. And you're like, there's still plenty of time. It's fine.
It's fine, yeah. And so now you know.
Yeah.
And we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all the while, as things are going along, you and I are fine, I think.
You think?
We're having everything's working out, but it does start to creep up occasionally, especially friends who know us.
Friends, parents.
Yeah.
Wait, so when are you going to ask her to marry her? When are you going to ask her?
When are you going to marry her? And it is in November of 2023 that we're like
October.
November.
Was it November?
Mm-hmm. It was much later. We didn't do it right away. But it was very much when do you want to get married?
Yeah,
Let's get married.
It was though. I thought it was October though.
I think it was, it would have been late October or early November. But it was very much we should get married on our anniversary so we don't have to remember another
different date. Yeah.
Which sucks because it just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I think it was November. I really do. But so we tell our parents and our close friends, and then we start figuring out like how small or large do we want this thing to be?
Yeah.
And what do we want it to be? And where? All of the questions.
Yeah. We start thinking about it, and lo and behold, there's a family friend that is married to someone who used to work with your father and used to work with you.
I worked there too.
Yeah. He used to work with both of you.
Who does weddings.
Yeah. That's what she's like. She's mostly retired, or now
she's retired,
completely retired.
That's what she does.
But that's what she does is she officiates weddings, and weddings of all types
and sizes
yep. And all types of ceremonies. And so we reach out to her and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. And she sends us way more information than I think we were prepared for.
Yeah.
Schedules like an official like Skype call
we
with
had an
us.
Official, it wasn't Skype, but it was another platform.
But a video call to kind of like chat with us.
We had a thing. She wrote an initial outline.
She introduced us to the fact that you could have an elopement ceremony.
Yeah.
Because we knew what eloping was. You just go off and get married and get it done and over with. Or you go to a courthouse, you do something, it's easy peasy. It's not this whole big affair. But then she's like, oh, but you could do an elopement ceremony to make it seem a little bit more, official, and still have some
formal.
Type of formal, and also still have some type of ceremony that is being officiated and stuff like that. We're like, oh, tell us more.
Yeah. And then we get an approved thing. And at this point, we've decided it's going to be very small.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the backyard.
Yep.
But I don't think we had decided on a theme. Not that we had a theme at that time.
No, people asked us though. Like they're like, "Oh, are you going to have a theme? Are you going to do a certain thing?" Or
by the way, I don't know. By the way, and I want to tell you, I can't take credit for this idea.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of a conversation I was having with somebody else. But we did eventually decide on not a theme necessarily. It turned into a theme.
It kind of did.
But instead of buying or renting a tux and a dress or buying a dress, we just decided to get a black Orioles jersey
and a white
Orioles jersey as a bride and groom, his and her, whatever. Stershic 24.
24 for the
year. I cannot believe we got so many questions
we did.
about the thing.
Why was it Stershic 24?
And so over the summer before our wedding, my parents have their 50th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
And we hadn't told everyone.
No, we hadn't told the wider
family and
group.
friends yet.
Yeah.
And so my parents did not want speeches at their 50th.
No.
So the only people who were allowed to speak at the 50th were my mom and my dad.
Yeah, they were going to do a quick speech and they were just going to thank everybody.
I told my dad to tell everybody about our upcoming nuptials because
first, it was like he would let you say something.
He was originally, but I thought that was a bad idea because I was convinced that opening the door for me to speak, even though I'm the only son,
would make other people
opens the door for other people to think they can speak.
So finally, it was decided like, no, you announce it once you're done with all of your
other
things
stuff
and your speeches and your thank yous.
And what word did my father use to describe our soon-to-be nuptials?
Finally,
that's correct.
Which is what he repeated at our wedding.
Yes, it is. And so I
think we have it on video.
We do. And then it turned into a theme because I have enough jerseys here to outfit a team.
Oh, and your parents.
And my dad does too.
Your dad has plenty of.
And so we
of
did
jerseys.
take a few pictures of like everybody who was here.
Everybody got to wear a jersey.
9.
There was
Laura,
who was officiating the wedding.
Yep.
You and me, my mom, Zapata, Chris, and your parents.
Yep.
So it was 8.
Yep. It would have been 10.
It would have been 10. There would have been 2 more.
But
there was a
circumstance. It was
yeah,
fine.
They
It
couldn't
was a
make
good
it.
situation. Happy situation.
It was good. Yeah, but they couldn't make it.
Yeah, my godparents ended up meeting their new grandson.
Yeah.
The night before, and it was like, all right, we get it. That's important. Don't worry about it.
It was going to be that day because they had to watch the other child while they went and got the baby.
It's fine.
So,
and so we went. We got married at 10:30.
Yeah,
10 or 10:30.
I think we had said 10, but then by the time everyone was ready and we were it had been around that, which was fine. Like we knew it was going to be in the morning.
It was 12 minutes long.
Yeah, we had been told it would be 20, so we should have.
I think we
were
cut,
told to
but we
prepare.
We cut some of Laura's stuff
we
out.
didn't cut a lot though.
Well, that's fine. Well, but we didn't do our own.
We didn't do our own vows. No, we could have, but we said we didn't need to, which would have added to it. But even it was still going to be approximately 20 minutes with what had been written.
Yeah.
But I think it just kind of went fast anyway. But yeah, so
and then we went in for cake.
Chris was taking photos with your phone the whole time. He also had his professional camera with him, so he recorded the whole thing. So we have the whole thing on video, which you still have to edit.
Yep. Not by the time this thing airs.
No. So we still have to edit that, and then he took a bunch of photos with the camera afterwards of us. We went in, we did the cake cutting. We cut the cake, and we fed each other cake. And
then we went out to lunch.
And
then everybody came back to the house, even though they didn't have to.
Yep.
And then by about 3:00, everybody left.
Yeah.
And
we just had the house to ourselves.
We were married, and that was that.
Yeah.
And
it didn't feel that different, other than the fact that we both had a new piece of jewelry on our finger that we weren't used to.
Yep, that's
that was I think the most thing that we had to get used to, because afterwards, whenever someone asked like, how does it feel? How do you feel?
I'm not used to a ring.
Yeah. That was the hardest part. We'd been living together already, so we were used to each other. It wasn't like
I know how to cook for you.
Yeah.
I know
we knew all each other's habits, all of each other's pet peeves, all of each other's anxieties. Like and we'd all be living together, so it wasn't that we had to go out and like now go find a house together.
Yeah. I own a house.
Yep.
And we have silverware and cutlery.
Yeah, we have all that
we have
stuff.
dishes, all of the things. Like we didn't, and look, we didn't have a registry. We didn't invite that many people, so it wasn't that big of a deal either.
And people they gave gifts, but it was mostly like just gift cards here and there, and a little bit of money.
Didn't ask for anything.
No, we didn't ask for anything.
We
didn't ask. People just decided to give us things because they wanted to give us gifts, which is fine. We put it all into a savings account, and then we're gonna leave it there.
And so that happened.
Yeah.
Any regrets? I mean, it hasn't been that long.
It's been 3 months. as of recording, I think. No,
it's been 2.5 months as of recording.
Has it?
It'll be 3.5
October,
months by the time it releases, I think, if my math is right. But I mean, look, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I don't look, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this because like it breaks the sanctity of marriage or whatever, but like I'm not happier that you're my wife. You know what I mean? Like
you're still happy. You're just happy that I'm here.
I'm still happy you're here.
Yeah. I mean, I say it has. I don't even want to say furthered our relationship because I haven't really done that either. But I guess it's taken it in like that more official traditional step. Like
I mean, I will say
married.
and those people who have been listening to the podcast know that I called you my partner.
Yeah.
Because
Girlfriend seemed weird.
I was in my mid-30s when the podcast started, late 30s.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a girlfriend.
Yeah. We were both kind of at the age where it was like,
girlfriend, boyfriend sounds weird. Partner's fine.
Partner sounds
wife,
more adult.
I'm all right with and now I can change it to wife. I by the way, I held on to partner when referring to you on this show for a little bit longer because I didn't know when things were going to release.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say wife before we were actually married.
Yeah.
I think I've said it. I think it's been out. I think I've said it a couple since then. Although I've recorded episodes, I have no idea where everything is. But I hear you. Like I remember because I'm a consultant now, so I'm home. Yeah. You know, like we share a wall. Mm-hmm. I'm going to eventually move my office and then I won't share a wall with you. But like, I heard for like a month, every time you talk to a new coworker, I would hear you retell the story. Of our wedding. Sometimes it would be an encompassing of both episodes that we did. Of like, well, we met on Twitter through a podcast. And
early on, it was a truncated how we met.
Yeah,
I was telling because they asked me, am I married? Or like, no, but I live with my partner and blah blah blah. And
you changed your name.
I did.
And you got to learn how to get a new signature.
I had to learn a new signature. That's been interesting.
Is it?
Having a signature with 2 S's in it is strange.
So are you like? If I asked you to sign now, are you like, or is it still like you still have to think about it? You still go to your maiden name? I mean, like we haven't been married for 50 years, like my parents, right? Like, so I understand.
We haven't even been married a year yet.
Yeah, so I know.
And I don't have much opportunity to sign it. So yeah, at this point, if I have to sign something with the new name, it'll still be kind of like.
But asking, like, if I say, "What's your name?" Like, you're good on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Stefanie Stershic. And there's people that outside of my team that I work with directly who are starting to find out because they go, did your name change?
Or they just think you're a new person.
Some of them. I did have one person email recently. They're like, I don't think we've worked together before. And I responded back and went, no, we have. We've worked together for many years. I just have a different name now. And they go, oh, okay.
That's funny.
It is funny. But yeah, a few people who kind of knew me but didn't work directly with me but knew my previous last name were like, did you get married? I'm like, yeah, I did. They're like, oh my God, congratulations.
So I want to ask this question. Mm-hmm. Like, look, what took us 2 episodes because we were very thorough in our retelling was something we had down to a 5-minute. I feel like we had it down to a 7 to 10 minute story, maybe 5, because you and I, like 2 things. One, we started to, I won't say double date, but we started to go out to dinner with other people.
Yeah.
And especially when you first moved in and I was introducing you to people, everybody would ask.
Yeah, they all wanted to know how we met, how had we met, and we took turns telling it. And
we kind of got it down. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to do these episodes because I wanted a full encapsulation of the full story.
Yeah.
But I was a little worried because, like, I know we're podcasters and we can talk, and we've proven that with phone bills. But like, it was just we had gotten so good at meeting somebody new or meeting somebody like a distant relative and being like, all right, well, yeah, we met through a podcast.
And sometimes depending on
circumstances, who they were, how long we had.
Yeah, how long we had, their age. It would either be we met on Twitter or we met through podcasting or we met online.
Yeah, there
were some versions just to make it easier to understand.
For whoever it was, a little less explanation. What's a podcast?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had learned certain.
It took a while.
Keywords.
It took a while to get there, but yeah, it's crazy now too because we kept it so quiet that I told some of the friends from that circle. Not everyone, and everybody has their own lives. So if I did tell them once, and I think people are so used to like getting an invite that when you remind, like, oh, I got married last weekend. Wait, really? Like, I think it from telling them we're getting married and then no invitation because we did something so small, I think everybody just forgets.
Kind of forgets, yeah.
I don't have to get them a gift. I don't have to RSVP. I don't have to whatever. And so, like, we're still now, and probably will for a while, explaining to people, oh, no, yeah, we got married.
We got married. See? Rings. Look at the rings.
It's a thing. Yeah, it happened.
It did. My name is now different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people we were telling, like, there are plans in the future to have, like, a bigger celebration where we can invite the broader family.
But that's a party.
It'll be a party. I am still insisting that we do kind of like a renewal ceremony because Laura said she could do it.
I don't think we don't.
and we're gonna do it just so that we can have some kind of pomp and circumstance there for the party. It's gonna be short again, but it'll be something, and then we'll just party and hang out with the people that we love, and that'll be great. So anyone that may have felt missed out or felt like they were missing out won't, because then they'll get to see something and at least, celebrate with us, kind of like I don't want to say normal wedding, but more closely resembling that.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll be fun, because what we thought was, even though we got married this year, we realized that in 2 years, because if you all remember from the first episode, we started dating in 2016.
Yep, we'll have been together technically for 10 years.
10 years.
Can you believe? Like, seriously, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, basically 8 years into this relationship, we got married.
People who know us are surprised that it's been that long.
Yeah, this is officially now my longest relationship.
Woo. I'm the best.
And this is my last relationship, so
you better be.
You're the last. Yeah. No. Hey, it's I said I do, and I meant it.
Yeah. I also meant it.
Well, anything else you want to tell anybody? Did we cover it?
I think we covered it all. You exist. I exist. We now exist as a married couple, man and wife.
Yep.
No going back now.
Nope. No, only forward.
Yep.
All right. Love you.
I love you.
Now, I'm aware that Steph and I going from podcasting pastime to partner, from hobby to husband and wife, is unique to us. But every relationship is unique. This just happens to be our story. The Zohar states that when a soul is sent down from heaven, it contains both male and female characteristics. The male elements enter the baby boy, the female the baby girl. And if they be worthy, God reunites them in marriage. The thing is, while I am fairly spiritual, though not really a practicing Jew, I can state that there is something amiss with the Zohar. Getting married this past September to Stefanie did not make me feel whole as the statement would lead me to believe. That's because, to follow our story, I felt whole the moment she moved in, the moment she was close. Marriage made it official for everyone else, but we aren't joking when we say that the only thing that changed, aside from her name, is that we now wear rings. We've always kind of known we were each other's forever. It's just that for us, it was when she moved in at the beginning of this episode, more so than when we got married at the end. And yet, this is still just the beginning. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files episode 139. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact my lovely wife Stefanie and myself in the show notes. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. right, honey, do you have one final question for me?
I do. When we had decided to get married, we picked the date.
Yep.
Who was the person that you were most excited to tell that we were finally getting married?
Ooh. I mean, probably my parents, but I will argue that...
Let's say, parents aside, because we know that the parents would be thrilled no matter what. But who aside from your parents were you most excited to tell?
Well, what we didn't cover in any of this was that relationship that ended when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
There was a wedding that was called off.
There was. There had been an engagement. There was a ring.
There was a wedding planned.
Yep.
Down payments were made.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I think Zapata and Chris, who were there.
Yeah.
And they understood, but I think they were, I think telling them, because they might have been more excited than this is the thing. This is the honest answer. I don't know that you and I were that excited. Like, we were happy that we were doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this monkey off your back. Well, people can stop asking us now.
Yeah. But to us, we knew it wasn't going to be a big difference.
It wasn't going to be a big difference. But I think that, like, specifically my two best friends were over the moon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was necessarily really excited to tell them, but I do know that they were very excited to hear it.
Yeah.
And that kind of, that expands when we eventually tell the rest of the podcasting circle from the first episode.
Yeah.
And like, we expand that a bit, like, there's still people within that circle that haven't heard. So if you're listening to this,
surprise,
welcome. And it's really just, we didn't go public with it.
Mm-mm.
This is as public as we've ever gone with it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I changed my Facebook status from
I haven't.
whatever it was. I don't even know what it is. I'm single, I'm guessing. I don't know if I ever
I called my family in Arizona. And, I called my grandmother and was like, hey, I got married.
Like, I don't even know if I changed my relationship status to in a relationship with you.
I did that. I do remember doing
All right,
that.
so that's done. So at least Facebook thinks I'm in a relationship with the right person. And then, no, I mean...
well, because we've given up on social media, especially Facebook. Like,
well,
I don't know if I need to bother.
But we've only told people we talk to. And
on a regular
people,
basis, yeah.
You know, so we don't... There's a lot of people we talk to semi-regularly or annually that we just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
And we're probably getting to the season when we do talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, I'm sure it'll be mentioned in the card, the holiday card we'll send out.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we got married.
Yeah. So
because the card will be coming from the Stershics.
I don't know that I was like... This is going to be the least romantic thing I'm going to say to. I think everybody else was more excited than I was. And again,
it doesn't bother me because it makes sense. Like, everyone was so happy because we've joked about it before, but we always keep saying that I arrived and everyone liked me more than you.
Well, sure.
Your friends liked me more. Your parents loved me.
Family. I mean, that's the other thing.
We've also joked that, like, if anything were to happen, like if we decided to split up, he was like, your parents will keep me.
Well, and don't forget,
you are their son, but they will keep me.
and we haven't talked about this at all, so let's talk about this now.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about when my dad announced it, he said, finally.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris, Zapata, my parents, my Uncle Matt, my Uncle Steven, my Uncle Mark, probably a few other people I'm forgetting.
Your Aunt Enid?
No, Aunt Enid didn't do it.
Oh.
She's the only nice one.
Okay.
But all of those people
I don't know where you're getting to, so.
had a reaction, a question for you specifically.
Oh. Yeah, I know where you're getting at.
What
now.
was the question?
Are you sure? Him? Are you sure? Blink if you need help. Yeah.
Well, are you sure?
I said I do. I did.
Okay.
We did the thing. I am sure.
Okay.
I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with you.
All right. Well, it started back in September. Welcome to the rest of your life.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.